Scarlett Johansson tries to make Kevin Feige jealous by hooking up with Luc Besson. You're watching Beyond the Thriller's review of Lucy.
I have access to 28% of my cerebral capacity. I can feel every living thing.
Since when did you start writing Chinese?
Since an hour ago.
What happens when she reaches 100%?
I have no idea.
All this knowledge, you can unlock secrets that go beyond our universe. I'm not even sure that mankind is ready for it.
It's like all things that make me human are fading away.
Practically since she was cast, Scarlett Johansson has made it clear she would like there to be a solo Black Widow movie. And while that might have seemed far-fetched post-Iron Man 2, remember when everyone wished Jon Favreau's first choice, Emily Blunt, didn't have that scheduling conflict? And even after Avengers, it's seeming less and less ridiculous after Captain America the Winter Soldier and now Lucy. In fact, while Marvel Studios head honcho Kevin Feige might still have his doubts, Johansson is apparently winning over a group just as important, the fans. And while she might not have 100% of the fans locked up, what she does have might be the source of Lucy's real power. Yes, while it will be close, right now Lucy is expected to top Hercules at the box office as they debut head-to-head. And The Rock has been tweeting his thumbs off for Hercules. A #1 debut against Dwayne Johnson might just be what it takes to make Feige jealous enough to commit. And it's not like Johansson is using Luc Besson, as he's getting a lot out of this relationship as well. While he has a fantastic history dreaming up female action heroes, Nikita the Professional and The Fifth Element, it's been a long time since he dominated the box office here or abroad. Thankfully, he's a prolific producer as well as a writer-director, and his The Transporter and Taken franchises have kept him in the game despite some unfortunate creative missteps like The Family. But to be fair, Besson has also been spending a lot of time on his animated franchise Arthur and the Invisibles, which on paper seems to be in the red, yet they made 3 movies. Anyway, he appears to be back on top with Lucy largely thanks to Johansson, who is enjoying a career high thanks to that association with Marvel. It's also worth noting that the only other big name attached to Lucy is professional supporting actor Morgan Freeman, meaning that if Lucy opens big, it opens big because of Johansson. But film fans will also recognize Choi Min-sik, star of the original Old Boy, and Amr Wakid, the Egyptian actor seen by global audiences in Syriana, Contagion, and Salmon Fishing in the Yemen. So is Scarlett Johansson ready to graduate to the next level with Lucy, or is it just a brain fart?
Lucy is evolutionary filmmaking until it tries to go to 100% itself as a movie and then promptly implodes. I enjoyed a good deal of the film, however, I cannot in good conscience recommend that you actually pay to see it. Not because it's bad, in fact, I would argue that Lucy is unrateable, but because with the way it ends, it's almost as if the movie just dissolves, disappears into thin air. And I've never seen anything like that before. It's like the last hour and a half or so you spent watching the movie doesn't matter. And as I said, I never saw that before, but yet I've never seen a movie like Lucy. And I think that uniqueness alone warrants some major kudos for both Luc Besson and Scarlett Johansson. So if you want specifics, I hope you'll check out my spoiler review, but I have compiled a list of what I like about Lucy and what I don't like. Alright, so let's start off with what I liked. I really liked Scarlett Johansson here. I thought she was absolutely phenomenal, and she made a scenario that was totally unbelievable seem somewhat believable. I just am really impressed with how she's evolving as an actress. I will say, though, that despite all the risks she's taking, there's a sameness about those risks. There are a lot of similarities in this film to her, and then also I would assume Under the Skin. I didn't get a chance to see that movie, but I think if Scarlett Johansson keeps taking the same kind of risks, they will cease to be seen as risks. But she's very, very good in this role. I really liked her a lot. I really liked the opening sequence. This scene was phenomenal. This is as good as filmmaking gets, and I wish that the movie had maintained this quality throughout. But the scene is so good from everyone who's involved. It's just really, truly phenomenal. It's not only Luc Besson at his best, but as I said, filmmaking at its best. And it buys a ton of goodwill from the audience. So much so that I think a lot of the movie that follows afterwards gets a little bit of a free pass because you're kind of hoping it will recapture what it did at the beginning of the film, which it never does. But it's really so strong. I would almost say the film is as if someone came up with a really great short film, which is like the opening sequence, and then maybe, you know, when Lucy gets her powers, and then they were tasked with the idea of, you know, seeing that idea through to the end in a feature, and they just really didn't know where to go with it. I think the movie feels a lot like that. But the opening sequence was just, I mean, really, you're in for, I mean, I would almost say the film is worth seeing just for that. I really liked the cinematography. I don't want to give too much away, but the way they incorporate nature life documentary footage is so not only unique, but such a clever idea and so well used. I really liked it a lot, and that's something else that I think buys a lot of goodwill from the audience. They're like, okay, this is clever. I'm going to give you a couple free passes, Luc Besson, because I can see you're clearly experimenting. So that was very good. I also really liked the global aspects of the film. This, as I said, this is evolutionary filmmaking. Also, from a business perspective, this is the direction I strongly feel Hollywood is going in, and we talk about it all the time here on this channel. This is a film where the only Americans are Scarlett Johansson and Morgan Freeman, and then everything else around them, from the cast to the locations, is global. And of course, there's an extremely strong Asian presence. I'd be very curious to see how this film performs overseas. It's designed to perform quite well globally. It has the global market in mind, not a specific country, and I just think it's fascinating to watch. I think the first film that purely does that. I think Transformers: Age of Extinction took a step in that direction, but this one fully has both feet planted in the mindset of global filmmaking. I also really liked having a strong female lead here. It made it very interesting, at least more interesting to me as a female viewer, but this is also going to dovetail a little bit into one of my problems with the film. I guess I'll say that's my first problem, but I would like to say I'm very curious to see if Lucy can ride the coattails of other female-centric box office huge hits this year, and, you know, carrying over from last year, Frozen and Maleficent. I think it's very much in that same mindset. Now, so going over to what I dislike, in that same vein, I really feel the male characters are overly sidelined here. And I guess it's the pendulum effect. You know, we have to go to the one extreme before it kind of like settles somewhere in the middle. You know, go to the other extreme where male characters find themselves sidelined. But I think that maybe they had too many supporting male characters, and I think that they, you know, Morgan Freeman, Choi, I'm going to make sure I get the name right, Choi Sik, and then also Amr Wakid, you didn't need all three of them, and I think that maybe if you cut it down to two or even just one, they could have had a substantial male role there. You know, it would be interesting to turn it on its head to have a male scientist for once in the female action hero. It's usually the reverse. But here you just had guys who didn't register at all because their parts were so small and really largely, you know, inconsequential. So I don't think this is a solution to the problem of women not having enough of a presence in movies to have them, you know, block out the other gender. So the other thing I didn't like was the pseudo-intellectualism of the movie. As I said, I felt Luc Besson tried to come up with an answer with what happens with 100% of your brain, and it just turned my brain to mush, his explanation. And I honestly felt a lot of what he was saying he just made up. I mean, one of you pointed out to me that it's been long disproved that we only use 10% of our brain, and I looked it up, and it is true. It has been disproved. So you have to, when you watch this movie, realize that all the science talk in it is totally fiction. You just have to look at it as the rules for the universe of the film, not reality. So I also wish it didn't focus so much on science, and it used more of that time to focus on maybe action sequences. I think this film desperately needed more action sequences. And if you've seen the trailer, you've seen all the action sequences in the film. I mean, they're a little longer in the movie, but there's no big surprise that's waiting. And the reason that is because Lucy doesn't have to fight, and she doesn't want to fight, which I guess, you know, is an interesting commentary on her character and intelligence, etc. But from an entertainment perspective, I wish she'd wanted to fight someone. The other thing, oh yes, the thing I really didn't like, and as I said, the ending. That's what makes the film just kind of dissolve into thin air, and you're just like, what the heck? That was just like mush. And I'd say that the ending is as sloppy as the beginning of the movie is sharp. And it actually reminds me of the first Transporter. My sister said a funny thing about that movie. She had said that it had the best first 10 minutes of a movie she'd ever seen and the worst last 10 minutes. And I would almost say that Lucy qualifies, and that's also a Luc Besson produced film. I would almost say Lucy has you can say the same thing about Lucy. The best first 10 minutes of a movie, probably a little more, and then the worst last 10 minutes of a movie, probably a little more as well. I'd say maybe you can swap out 10 for maybe 20 minutes. So that's my review, my non-spoiler review of Lucy. If you'd like to see my spoiler review, there'll be a link in just a moment here at the end of this episode. And please write down below what you think of the film if you've seen Lucy. I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts on it, if you agree that it's unrateable. And again, you can check out some more episodes, including that spoiler review, right now.